My name is Ezekiel Kim, and I am the second negative speaker. And I would like to start by saying that drilling in Anwr would not make a significant benefit for the U.S. The amount of oil that can be drilled in the Anwr area is minimal compared to what the U.S. needs, and therefore it would not make a significant change in gas prices for the long run. According to U.S. Representative Jay Inslee, the area represents half of 1% of the world's oil reserves, and the extraction of oil in Anwr might have an impact of maybe 3 cents a gallon of our cost of gasoline in 2028. According to the Energy Information Administration, if Congress gave the go-ahead to pump oil from Anwr, the crude could begin flowing by 2013 and reach a peak of 876,000 barrels a day by 2025. However, even at peak production, the U.S. would still have to import 2/3 of its oil, as opposed to 70% if the refuge's oil was off the market. As a result, the Energy Information Administration predicts that drilling in Anwr would reduce oil prices by less than 50 cents even at peak production. Also, the employment rate would not go up significantly by drilling in Anwr. According to a CRS report for Congress in 2006, it states that by using the Bureau of Labor Statistics estimate of 5.73 jobs required for $1 million of sales by oil and gas producers, and 16 jobs for $1 million of sales by oil and gas field service companies, the amount of jobs created would be 86,000 jobs for $9.4 billion and 245,000 jobs for $26.9 billion of sales. Therefore, the amount of jobs will not be enough to make a significant increase in the employment rate for the U.S. And also, according to Time magazine, it states that 36 Democrats predicted over 700,000 jobs would be created and would lower the employment rate by 0.5%. However, Time states that these numbers come from an 11-year-old study commissioned by the American Petroleum Institute that economists complain wildly inflates the employment potential. Some disadvantages of drilling in Anwr are that drilling in Anwr will continue to allow the U.S. to be too reliant on fossil fuels. Referring back to my previous resource, U.S. Representative Jay Inslee states that the fact of the matter is, if we're going to grow our economy, if we're going to seize the jobs of the next century, we have to get busy focusing our national debate and national investment on the new clean energy technologies. For example, he states, China right now is preparing to roll out electric cars, lithium-ion batteries, solar cells, cellulosic ethanol. This is where the future of energy is. We have a finite resource in oil, just like we had a finite resource in whale oil, and we made a transition. And we have to really focus our national energies in a bipartisan way. I would hope on finding out a way to compete with China to really build new energy sources of the future. And according to www.idebate.org, even on the most optimistic estimates, the field under the refuge amounts to only 10 billion barrels of oil, equivalent to only 2 years' U.S. consumption. Even if as much as 1 million barrels of oil could be pumped from the Anwr per day, this will not even offset the likely growth in U.S. oil imports over the next 10 years. Achieving true energy independence means in alternative energy sources, not being the U.S. addiction to fossil fuels. The second disadvantage is it is harmful to the environment. There's a lot of wildlife in the Anwr region, and one example are the polar bears. According to an article by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Beaufort Sea population of polar bears in Alaska is estimated to be between 2,000 and 2,500. Based on the analysis of over 300 years of data, scientists found that a bit less than half of the polar bear maternity dens were located on the coastal mainland or on ice attached to the mainland. Of these land dens, about 43% were located within the Arctic refuge, making this by far the most important onshore denning habitat in the U.S. The potential threats to these polar bears are death, injury, or harassment due to interaction with humans, damage or destruction of essential habitat, contact with and ingestion of oil and or other contaminants, attraction to or disturbance by industrial noise, disturbance by aircraft, ships and other vehicles, increased hunting pressure, and indirect food chain effects due to the impacts of oil and gas-related activities. However, the biggest threat to the environment is the chance of an oil spill. The most recent spill was caused by the BP oil company. The result of the oil spill resulted in an estimated 200,000 gallons of oil in the Gulf of Mexico each day. Other oil spills include the Exxon Valdez spill, which resulted in 36,000 tons of crude oil on the shores of Alaska. The harmful effects from these oil spills included hypothermia and drowning of birds, hypothermia in seals as they destroy the insulating fur, and when the oil was ingested, it can either poison the animal outright or make them extremely sick or create a level of toxins in their system and then cause further poisoning down the food chain. It also caused damage to the airways of birds and animals and their immune systems, and damaged the feeding and breeding areas for the wildlife, and it tainted the algae, which performs a vital role in the waterway ecosystem. In conclusion, the benefits from drilling in Anwr are not worth the risk and damage for the environment.